Hi everybody, good evening. My name is Peyton Grissom, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about my critique of the leader speech. And I'm so excited to be able to do this. And I'm so sorry that we're going to have some technical difficulties, I'm sure, but I know the circumstances and I hope everyone is doing okay and is safe. So let's go ahead and get started. So if you can see my agenda, so I'm going to give you a little introduction on who my speaker is. I'm going to talk to you guys about why I chose him and what his speech actually was. We're going to go into his organization, his delivery of his speech, and the impact from his speech. And then we'll do a recap. So pretty easy, simple. So I did George W. Bush. I have done a lot of school projects on George W. Bush and his family, so I feel like I know a lot of information about George W. Bush, and I feel confident, and I really like him as a leader, so I was so excited that I got to choose him for my presentation. So a little background about him, I'm going to talk a little bit, is he's an American politician and a businessman, and according to BushCenter.com, he served as the 43rd president of the United States from 2001 until 2009, so he served 2 terms. He's originally from Connecticut, but moved to Texas and started a family. His father was the 41st president of the United States, and again, according to WhiteHouse.gov, President Bush was transformed into a wartime president in the aftermath of the terrorist attacks on September 11th, facing the greatest challenge of any president since Abraham Lincoln. And so why I chose former President George W. Bush is because one of my favorite speeches that he gave was his 9/11 speech. So the speech he gave in his Oval Office right after the tragedies of September 11th. So I'm going to show a few clips from the actual speech itself. It's really good. I chose the beginning and the end because I feel like those are the most impactful, but I totally would watch this and show you all of it if I could. So let me just 1 second to change this. All right.
Good evening. Today, our fellow citizens, our way of life, our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts. The victims were in airplanes or in their offices, secretaries, businessmen and women, military and federal workers, moms and dads, friends and neighbors. Thousands of lives were suddenly ended by evil, despicable acts of terror. The pictures of airplanes flying into buildings, fires burning, huge structures collapsing, have filled us with disbelief, terrible sadness, and a quiet, unyielding anger.
All right, and let me show you the ending of his speech. Again, I'm sorry for the technical difficulties.
Tonight I ask for your prayers for all those who grieve, for the children whose worlds have been shattered, for all whose sense of safety and security has been threatened. And I pray they will be comforted by a power greater than any of us, spoken through the ages in Psalm 23. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me. This is a day when all Americans from every walk of life unite in our resolve for justice and peace. America has stood down enemies before, and we will do so this time. None of us will ever forget this day, yet we go forward to defend freedom and all that is good and just in our world. Thank you, good night, and God bless America.
Okay, and let me go back to my PowerPoint. All right, so let's first talk about his organization of his speech. So former President Bush had a very well-organized speech, and it was accordingly to all the topic. He started with his main points, and then he eventually followed them up by smaller points by giving examples of statistics and some other information that were important. And his speech flowed very well. So there was never an awkward pause. It was like he was speaking straight from his heart. All right, and then delivery. So it was definitely very emotional. He has to sit in front of the whole United States and give this speech. So many families were affected by this, and he had to sit down, and I'm sure that he had just become president when this happened. And so he had a lot on his shoulders, and it was very emotional for him to get up and talk to the families that were affected. It was informational, so he went down and he talked about everything that happened. It was straight facts versus what some people had been hearing that day from different news sites or word of mouth. His voice presence, so it was very slow and it was very strong. So he was speaking very slow so that everyone could hear every single thing that he was saying. But his voice was soft, but yet very rich and strong. So he sounded confident. And he also had a lot of great nonverbals. He had great eye contact. Even though he was looking directly into the camera, you felt like he was looking at you and talking to you personally. And he had a very good posture. He was sitting straight up. His hands were on his desk. He wasn't moving his hands. He was talking to his audience very well. And the impact from his speech. So according to MillerCenter.org, Bush did an amazing job talking to the American people. His crisis leadership gave the American people confidence that someone was in charge, especially during this difficult time. He brought comfort, so he ended the speech by giving a Bible verse, and he also ended the speech by saying, "God bless America," which a lot of people have faith values in Christ, and so he gave comfort. And he also felt security. So going back to the way that he had organized, he had a problem and solution. So people felt secure that he was going to get the job done, regardless of what happened during 9/11. And we're just going to recap. So we learned who George W. Bush was. We learned about the 9/11 speech, his organization, his delivery of his speech, and the impact that he gave on his speech as well. So thank you so much for listening to my speech, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.